2 days. 2 days I've had to think about, reflect, ponder on this loss against the Juve in the Derby d'Italia, and of course, I'm still absolutely fuming from it. But the fallout and what's been going viral from it is not about Chivu or Zoma's mistakes. What's been going viral is this: Marcus Thuram, what looks like laughing his head off with his brother Kefren after Inter conceded the last goal, the 4-3 goal, the nail in the coffin goal. And Interisti have had a complete head loss and been going on a tirade against Marcus Thuram because of this image, which I can understand. I can understand. You are playing against our biggest rivals, Juve. For me, our biggest rivals more than Milan, the team I despise the most. So why the hell are you laughing and joking with your brother? But I wasn't too mad about, because as Ranocchia came out today and said, um, I know that Thuram was talking to his brother to tell him, tell the truth. You did it, in terms of, was it a foul on Bonni or not? Because that was that was Kefren Thuram on Bonni on the action leading up to the Azic goal that obviously Zoma should have saved. And between brothers, the laughter escaped. That was all there is to it. And this is the type of person Marcus Thuram is. Like, I don't really see the real. I understand optically it's absolutely it looks awful, and in this age, um it's just, everything goes viral. It doesn't look right, I'll say that. And obviously, if you're watching football from the 80s and 90s, you don't see this stuff going on. You don't see friends or players being friends, pally pally with each other, even if they're brothers. But we live in a different era now. Players are like much more friendly with each other, even in a derby where it's like, you're supposed to hate each other and all that. And in this case, you're not even just friends, you're actual brothers. Um, it's a different era that we live in. So I wasn't actually too mad about that. What I was actually mad with Thuram and what I think he should be told off for, was not celebrating after he actually scored the goal for 3-3. Or was it, no, sorry, for 3-2. Now I'm going to get my head lost because we actually went up ahead. As I said, this is the team that I despise the most, hate the most, our biggest rivals, and you go ahead with them with a headed goal, which he himself says people make fun of him for not scoring enough headers. His father and his brother both make fun of him for not scoring enough headers, and he celebrates in such a mute fashion, which is, to me, I couldn't understand this one. I thought we actually didn't score from this. But anyway, at least that controversy now has been put to bed. And by the way, make sure you leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you want to support the channel, just leave a thumbs up. It literally takes 2 seconds. Sometimes, it might be tone deaf because I just repeat it in the same way and fashion all the time, but just do it if you want to support the channel. Appreciate it very much. Thank you. But what I wanted to actually reflect on, actually, before I end on the Thuram thing, his brother was actually part of the same exact controversy a few weeks back. If you guys remember, in the Torino game when Thuram scored his 2 goals, look at when his dad was there with his brother this time in the crowd, and Juventini were just as mad for him being there first place and then giving Thuram a thumbs up after scoring his goals. So I feel like, in this era of social media, both ways, the players are different, but also us or people watching, we get triggered over the smallest things. It's like, clearly these two brothers have a very different relationship to others. Usually you wouldn't go to watch your brother's game if he's playing a rival, but clearly Lily and Thuram, the father, has created such a bond between these two brothers. So shouts out to him that they're able to support each other, even though they're playing for two clubs that really they shouldn't be doing this optically. And I think Lily and Thuram should know this, that optically this doesn't look good for both brothers, the stuff that these two do, but that's their relationship. And yeah, to me, I don't have too much of an issue on that. But moving past all of this, the issues that I had post derby, my reaction with you guys as well, of course, in the heat of the moment, straight after the game, I did say that I was impressed in general that we went to Torino, we went to the Allianz or Juve Stadium, whatever it's called now, and the way that we controlled the game or played like we were the home team, I've never seen that all in the last, I don't know, decade or so. I struggle to remember a time where we went out there and played the game the way we did, and ultimately we conceded goals that were all, apart from I think the first one from Lloyd Kelly. I think that one was just, what can you do? Lloyd Kelly, finds himself with an amazing pass from Bremer first time, and maybe a Kanji could be there first, but apart from all the other goals were very avoidable from the set piece and obviously the shots from distance. Basically, if Zoma played like not even peak Zoma, just like okay level Zoma, we would be talking about a different game altogether, and we would be probably talking about Inter back, Chivu project is underway. But one thing I want to do is I think we might owe Hakan Çalhanoğlu an apology. He didn't have. I still don't think he had the greatest of games outside of his goals, but the blame for the Yildiz goal now on post-match analysis, and this shouts out to Zambro at Zambris on Twitter, who says it's actually on Akanji. On reflection, there's more and more blame that actually comes out on Manuel Akanji than initially thought, because I actually thought Akanji had a good game. So you can see him pictured here. This is where Akanji is, and this is where Hakan is. So yeah, in theory, because Hakan is the CDM, he should be, in our heads, he should be here always shielding this position, right? But because Barella's not even in the picture here, so Hakan's kind of half covering these two spaces here. I think this is Locatelli out here, and there's Yildiz. Akanji should be way, way closer here to Yildiz, as Zambro says here. His positioning should be here because he's supposed to be following the player, and that's his man reference in that position. He probably Akanji probably thinks, we play 3 at the back, 5 at the back, so I'm perfectly fine here. But Yildiz has drifted off into this position, and Hakan has, he's got 2 people to look at. He's got Locatelli here as well to look after. And yeah, maybe they also should be a little bit closer or have a look at who's behind in the half space behind him. But ultimately, even if Hakan was there, Yildiz, the way that he's able to turn with the great ability that he has, it should be a Kanji there, much closer, be able to block the shot. But of course, after all that, there's really nothing to discuss with all this. We're talking about minute details. Ultimately, Jan Zoma has to do much better on that. But for that, because I did blame Hakan post-match, and I think a lot of us did for this goal, he deserves an apology. In general, for the first goal, he was at fault for how it all led up to the goal, to the corner, from which eventually Juve scored from. Like, how far do we go back to, give blame? And the other thing that Hakan, and actually Chivu as well, in terms of the match plan, the high press and everything, was actually initially working quite well in the first half. You see here, look where Dumfries wins the ball from Kefer and Thuram, gives it to Thuram, and then ends up potentially being an opportunity, but it doesn't. And then here, Hakan bails out Carlos Augusto, who actually got beaten here by Kalulu 1v1, but Hakan is there to mop up very nicely, doing his job. And then Hakan here again, Zambro shows where he is. He did very well. So, he was here on Yildiz on these high presses. And look where Acerbi is as well to win the ball back on Vlahovic. So there was a few situations there, and I think it kind of helps to kind of make more understanding of how the game went outside of the initial anger. And Zambro goes on to say, we didn't really use Lautaro in. There was a lot of these positions where we could have been braver with our passing, where Lautaro, because they were playing in midfield too, so they didn't even have a CDM really shielding. It was Locatelli and Thuram both sharing the workload. So there was positions here where Lautaro or someone else dropping into that space could have been used better. So in this case, Lautaro again finds himself in those pockets of space where Inter needed to be braver, because if Bastoni passes here, Gatti steps up here to Lautaro. See how Gatti's already stepped up there, like Akanji should have to Yildiz. So Lautaro, even if he tries to turn there, Gatti would have been on him already. But that movement from Gatti then opens up a space for Thuram to run in. So there was opportunities for Inter to be a little bit more braver in these situations, because there were a lot of moments like this because Juve just set back. Again, on reflection, we played. You could also say, you could have the argument against that. Juve made Inter play the game that they wanted by being so deep and letting Inter have the ball. That was the game that ultimately Juve let Inter play. But at the same time, I feel like the way Inter basically there was hardly any counterattacks from Juve from between, like, I don't know, the start of the second half until they then went down 3-2, and that's when we started to suffer. But that wasn't from our high pressing or from our lack of athleticism or lack of speed. That was when we were actually sat back a little bit deeper. Silly foul from Bastoni, and then of course again the Boni Thuram moment and Adzic just having the shot of his life. Well, of course Jan Sommer not being there, but what we're seeing is definitely some positive signs coming out of that game that I didn't initially see in my post-match reaction. But of course, now moving forward, what is the answer? There's only one way forward from this for Chivu and the boys. This is just in Serie A because my focus is Serie A. But in reality, next 3 Serie A games plus the next 2 Champions League games are very much winnable. As it says here, fixture difficulty, the color code will be the same for the Ajax and the Sparta Prague fixture for the Champions League in this light red, because they are, in theory, well, for Interisti, we would say that Sassuolo at home for Inter is actually a red level difficulty, code red, God level threat for Inter. But realistically speaking, that now has to be no other way around, do or die. 9 points, 3 out of 3 wins, and in the Champions League, Ajax, Sparta Prague has to be 6 points as well before the big games against Roma and Napoli, back to back away, big games where we can reevaluate whether Inter are serious or not. Are they going to be in the Scudetto race or not? Which I have already, as I said in my post-match reaction, now I have given up any expectation of being in the Serie A race until Inter prove me wrong. My expectations now are really just get me top 4, because Chivu is not being given the team to do what he wants, and the team seems to lack the motivation and the freshness and the energy to really do what the directors think they can do, again with the same exact team we had last season and the season before. But yeah, this is football. We see crazy things happen, so let's see what these guys can cook up. But of course, the only way out of this, as I said, is 9 points out of the next 3 games minimum, and that's also to keep Chivu's job and Chivu's head, stress-free, because we know anything out, especially Sassuolo, anything other than 3 points, then the pressure is already mounting. The fact that today outlets already had to come and say that Chivu's job is not under threat, that's already a sign. The fact that they've had to come out. I saw Fabrizio Romano has already made a tweet to say Inter are not evaluating other options. The fact that that's even being discussed already at match day 3, that's already the issue. But with Chivu, bro, put your helmet back on, put that head protection back on, because you are going to need it. But we Interisti, I think most of us are still with you. I saw some people saying Chivu out already and things like that, but he is not to be blamed in this situation at the moment. If he keeps going like this, and if he keeps adopting or playing in a way that isn't suited to this team and suited to these players, then we can definitely point the finger at Chivu. But as long as the team, in terms of performances, chance creation, XG and everything, the underlying things, the little details are all looking in the right direction towards the team is behind Chivu, and it's just little episodes that are against us, then we are in the right direction. If we start to perform worse than teams that are below us and worse than the big teams, we're not getting results. The Champions League, the top 4 especially, is looking like a struggle, which of course financially is the key. Then of course we have to make evaluations on Chivu, unfortunately, because that is the name of the game. But anyway, you guys let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on everything. The Thuram controversy and all that situation, and of course the analysis on the goals conceded and the way that we played against Juve. Let me know in the comments down below. Ciao ragazzi, forza Inter, see you for the match preview for the Champions League tomorrow. Ciao.